Okay, my IFS friends, this is for you. I just had the most amazing session and I wanted to share about it because it was phenomenal and I feel like hearing other people's experience is so, oh, there's like no better education. And I was like bawling. I just like wiped off some mascara running down my face. I had just done a workout before that. My hair is all funny for my workout. And that's okay. We're just coming to you in authenticity. Okay. Oh, okay, so I've been wondering in my life lately, um, boy, why do I tend to put other people's needs ahead of mine? Like all the time, even when it doesn't matter. Even when like I have time, I'm like, oh, it's time for me to stretch or address um, some aches I have that need some stretching and exercising, or to address some of my needs. I'll like do the dishes first. Like even the house, even like housekeeping will come ahead of my needs. It was just like, but and plus people like a part of me would find it so easy to get things done for other people's needs first ahead of my own, and would even put anything ahead of my own needs. And I'm like, okay, why? Well, what's going on there? And then even when I'd like look at it and be like, okay, I'm like thought to do stretching, and now I'm thinking about doing the dishes, and I'm watching myself, and being like, oh, I see this is happening. Let's go stretch instead, and like practice putting my needs first. And it still would be, I would still end up doing the dishes usually. Anyway, so that was my first one. Why do I put other people's needs ahead of my own? And the other one was a part of me that really uses sugar or sweets or certain types of food. And here I've been in the fitness and nutrition industry for a decade, more than a decade, and like understand things and teach clients and why, if I can't, why can I not parent myself at times through like sugar cravings? So those are my questions, and you wouldn't believe what the answer was. Well, you will, but I'm just so surprised by it. Okay, so I discovered what it was a 12-month-old. My 12-month-old, her mom became unavailable and permanently. And that was so startling and shocking, and she did not know why. And she didn't understand why she couldn't have her mom, why her mom had left and wasn't coming back. And the comfort that would come from a mother, from the feminine presence, from nursing, from having that comfort and being able to, how kids do. Even when they start to get more independent, they keep coming back to touch base, to be like, oh, good, my mom is still there. And now I'm brave enough to go venture out into the world and go to school. And when I come home, I want to make sure, oh, good, my mom is still there. So that feminine presence and comfort and its consistency, plus just nourishment as a baby through nursing, of like, oh, this feels amazing. I'm getting my nutritional needs met, energy, and then even just the carbohydrates of breast milk, and the fat and protein, just like stomach satiated, whole body happy because it's getting its nourishment, like all of that. So this 12-month-old was just so distraught at that all of that's gone, just disappeared, don't know why, really want it, need more of it, and don't know why it didn't come back, and it's not coming back. And so there, and so a toddler, so a part developed, so a reaction was like, whoa, this is like, what am I going to do about this? This is beyond, this has never happened. This feminine presence has always been there in my whole existence so far. This has never happened. What am I going to do about this? And so there was a lot of like, I guess I have to do this myself. And and then defensiveness as well, of like, wow, the world's mean. You're like nurturing warm presence can just disappear, and then like you're left without it, and you have to like, live anyway. Wow, the world's mean. So I'm going to always watch my back and also not let people in easily, because what if they leave and disappear as well? So like not going to let people in easily, and then mostly just be defensive. And my adopted mom mentioned that as a toddler, I was very, very tough and like would even bully kids bigger than me, and like wouldn't step down, wouldn't back down from a fight, and was like pretty big too, like kind of a thick toddler. And she would say like she'd have to keep an eye on the situation whenever something like that would go on, not because she was ever worried about me. She's like, no, you can hold your own. I was worried about other kids. Wanted to make sure you didn't hurt them. And yeah, this toddler became the protector of this little 12-month-old that was in need, didn't get enough nourishment, and was in need of nurturing. And so this toddler took on the job of trying to comfort and protect the baby. And it was so tough. It was fascinating. Like, it would like fight to the death kind of tough. And as a toddler, it could bite, kick, and scream and fight so hard, and wasn't afraid to, and was always watching its back. And the energy of it was that strong. And so I was noticing it was all making sense. So the part of me, so whenever there was like sadness in my life, or a need for like getting nurtured, receiving nurturing and comfort, the baby inside of me, the 12-month-old, would feel that and would be triggered and brought to the surface. And then the toddler would say like, we need to get her a cookie stat. Like that baby needs to get sugar inside its body, because the sugar feels pretty similar to the chemical reactions and the body reactions that happen from nurturing and being held, and probably especially nursing. And so the toddler would be like, we are getting a cookie immediately. And then if a parent, internal parent, if I tried to parent myself and like jump in and be like, oh, no, cookies aren't healthy, so instead we're going to eat, some vegetables or something, this toddler would fight to the death. Like the tantrums were unbelievably intense, like so intense, that I got to the point for the last, I don't know how long, my internal parenting tactics around this had been like, I just wouldn't ever say no, like, nope, sorry, I'm gonna be the parent, and say like, nope, you can't because we've had too many today, or you have to eat real food, or whatever, like that just wouldn't cut it. So instead my parenting tactics would be to distract, of like, oh, you want a cookie, okay, well, you know what, oh, let's go for a walk first, or look at that shiny thing, like let's go have a dance party, or let's go do something. And my parent would try to come up with an activity that would raise my endorphins and get blood flowing and make my body feel comforted and happy, so that the toddler would forget like, oh, okay, the baby doesn't need a cookie anymore because the body's feeling pretty happy right now. So my parenting tactics would be either to like distract, and I couldn't say like, no cookie, you must exercise instead, or go for a walk or do something healthy or productive, because then the toddler would just fight to the death, very, very, very strong-willed. But instead I'd be like, oh, okay, well, let's go do this first, in hopes that the toddler would kind of get distracted and forget. Or if it was a healthy activity, it would actually help clear and process whatever the current real life situation emotions were. Or my parenting, if that didn't work, or if I couldn't do that, the parenting tactic would at least just be like, okay, yeah, you can have a cookie after you exercise, or after you have a meal of real food. And it was just so fascinating, because internally I'd have other parts that would judge and be like, you're not being a very good parent. You're like letting your inner child eat way too many cookies. Your teeth are going to fall out. You're going to have health issues. Like, this isn't going to have positive end results, in the long term. And that part would also feel the same about other parents. Whenever I would see a parent, like, let their kid eat as much sugar, like sugar for every meal, because that's sometimes what the toddler wanted. It's like, oh, let's have chocolate cake for every meal forever. And so if I ever saw a parent doing that, the parts in me would freak out and be like, no, there's got to be another way. Like their teeth are going to fall out, because I've experienced that, like health deteriorating while like I'm watching it like a train crashing of like, and I can't stop it. Like, yeah, I know if I eat, that my body needs more nourishment and support right now, and instead I'm eating this, and I know it's going to have negative consequences on my health, just like the internal prison of like, I know, like, and I don't want it. I don't want to have negative, poor health coming in the future, and I know this isn't sustainable. So my parts, whenever they'd see a parent doing that with their kid, they would freak out because they'd be like, no, there's got to be another way, like, because they were tired of being in the prison they were in. Anywho, okay, so that was the 12-month-old, and then the toddler who took on the job of trying to be the protector and caregiver for the baby. It just makes so much sense. So, okay, what else was I going to share? I'm just so happy. Okay, so then I was able to reparent the baby and hold it and help it have the experience of being held and comforted and fed, and helped it have the experience of being somewhere safe and being nurtured, and committed that I would let it know that that I'll be with it, that it can be with me forever, and that I gave it that commitment of like its need being met, of it needed to be able to have a mom for as long as it needed, to keep receiving that nurturing. And so I'd done that on the first day, when like this was coming up, processed that, and then reparented the infant, or the 12-month-old, which actually was kind of an infant, younger in the reparenting. I know, I just sat there, like I rolled up a blanket and just held it, because I'm very visual, and that helped my body and mind experience it more. And my husband was holding space for me during that session, and I just kept thinking like, yeah, I know how this looks. I'm holding a blanket, but like I promise it works. Like this is what my system needs right now, so I love myself enough and my system enough and my parts enough to give it whatever's going to help it. And so I just sat there holding my blanket baby for the first day, and it took a while for the baby. So I was like, thought like, oh great, if this part's ready to integrate tonight, then like, woo, cool, it will be fully healed. But it wasn't quite. It was like, I need to keep an eye on you to make sure that you actually are going to stay around, and that I can trust your commitment and your promise. And so revisited a few days later, thinking like, oh, things are feeling pretty good. Like I still less of a magnetic pull towards sugar, and comforting with food, and also comforting with like the toddler also like wanted to watch TV. Like that was going to be like, that was kind of like a big deal for it as well. Almost as if like, I want to just watch Saturday cartoons all day, every day, and eat cake for every meal. Like, that was going to be its great idea of how to get the baby's needs met, and its needs met maybe. Anywho, so I was feeling a little bit less of a pull or a tug towards that. So I thought like, oh, maybe it's healed. But so I checked in with it tonight and did another session, and could see that the baby was like soothed and comforted, like swaddled and just content in like a warm bassinet or something. But the toddler was still like panicking of like, something's going to go wrong. Like, it kept saying like, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand. This baby doesn't have a mom, and it has like, and its needs matter, and they're so intense. It's just a baby. It needs to have comfort. It needs to have soothing. It needs to have an adult taking care of it. And like, so the toddler was still living in that place and still had like the trauma and the job of it. And And so, anyway, so then I talked with a toddler and could see how that's a big job for such a little tiny kid, like 2 or 3 years old, to take on, trying to comfort and take care of a 12-month-old, and acknowledged it and saw it and shared my love with it, with her, and it was interesting. So then, so then we did some, helped her clear some of the beliefs that, like, I'm going to need to do it all on my own. And then that's where the belief came in, because she had the belief that she needed to take care of the baby before her own needs. So she was the one who was always putting other people's needs ahead of mine. I'm still just floating, so happy to have. I've been asking that question like for the last 6 months, since I saw it very clearly in my life of like, look at me doing it, look at all the times and places I'm doing it, and I know it's not going to be sustainable or healthy or productive. So she had that belief, and that's where she had been living. And so I was able to help her with that belief and then bring in some new beliefs. And then she was able to see how having had the trauma energy and that situation and the experience, the trauma energy had kind of created a filter for how she viewed the world. And she kind of always viewed everyone as suspect and everyone as having ill intention. And always the first reaction was defensive. Oh, you know what? I wonder if this, I've had a lot of flinching in my life. Like if someone walks around the corner at the same time, my first reaction would be like to flinch. Even if it was a very, very safe environment. Anywho, I noticed that about myself in the past and was like, what's going on? And I wonder if it was her. So I'll see. I'll pay attention to see if there's less, if that happens again or not. Anywho, where was I? Sorry. I'm just still so happy for all of them. So she had that belief, and I was able to help clear it and help her see. And then she was able to see that actually, in reality, she was like, I have to do this on my own. Like I have no support, and then no one's gonna take care of this baby, and no one is taking care of this baby, so I have to do it, right? Like I can't take care of my needs first before the baby's, and I have to do it all myself. And so then after helping clear those beliefs and bring in some new perspectives, she was able to see how the trauma energy had created kind of a filter, and she actually did have people supporting her, a lot of people supporting her the whole time, seen and unseen, but she couldn't let it in. And in fact, when she would look around, she would kind of assume ill intent, or like her first reaction would be to be defensive and distrustful. And so she was able to see how having that trauma energy had created more of that as the reality. And then as we released the trauma energy and the beliefs, she was able to see like, whoa, actually, I am supported, and it is okay for me to take care of my own needs first before other people's. And in fact, if everybody would take care of their own needs first, like put on your own mask in an airplane, right? Oxygen mask before assisting others, it's way more sustainable. And that's been her whole wish, is like if all adults would do that, would take care of their own needs, get their needs met, then they would be more capable and have more, you can't give water from an empty well. They would have more water in their well to be able to help other people. And that was her desire, because in that world where all adults are taking care of themselves and keeping their well full of water, they can help take care of all the kids around. So then all kids don't have to have the job of taking care of other people. They can have the job of playing, which is what kids are supposed to do, in my opinion. So it was really fantastic to get to watch her see all of that. And then she even got to replay some memories and home videos where you could visually see her distrust and her defensiveness and her aggression. She got to replay those and re-experience them with her being in a happy, peaceful state. And she got to see how actually the people who she'd been glaring at distrustfully, that without that filter there, she was able to see their actual intent and see the good in them. And then she also was able to receive the good in them better. And then her being in a peaceful internal environment, she was actually more connectable and lovable by other people. And then they were able to feel that and then share it back to her, which is what she wants, something that she really wanted as well. And so she was able to see how it all played out, how the trauma, the shock, the burden, the distrust, I'm not going to let people in easily because what if they disappear as well, or no one's helping me, no one supports me, I'll have to do it all myself, how that had created more distance of keeping people at arm's length. And then she experienced more of the same, of like, see, nobody supports me, etc. And so it was so fascinating to get her, so she could see all of that happen. And then it was so fun because, so then we put the beliefs in a fire pit, and it was hilarious. She like ceremoniously like set them, they're like pieces of paper in the fire pit, and then like really playfully like hiya, and threw like embers at it to burn it up. And so as soon as she was unburdened from the beliefs and the trauma energy, she instantly started getting more playful. And it was so fun to see. So she's actually a very like playful, spunky, she has a lot of playful, spunky energy, a lot of like indigo energy. And she's also very physical, which made sense that that my system would pick kind of like the most physical energy to be the one that's in charge of like protecting us in this trauma. So I'm so excited to have her integrated again, and then to get to feel her attributes and her contributions to the system. And which is also interesting because historically whenever someone would reflect to me that their perception of me was I was very quiet, calm, and not very social, a part of me would get so mad of like, what do you, no. And I feel like it was a lot of her. She's like, that is not who I am. I'm busy right now. I've got a very burdensome job I'm doing nonstop. But by the way, that is not true. And so as she was integrating, I was able to like see and feel her very like energetic. She was dancing a lot. Her energetic, spunky energy. And I had like flashbacks of noticing in myself when I was in, especially massively in like fight or flight and living in that place. It was not very playful, just like focusing on like survival and the essentials and like barely getting by and barely surviving. And it was not very playful or spunky or sassy or happy. Even if I consciously like am in favor of fun and, I just couldn't get there because all of my fun and, all these attributes were stuck inside parts that were stuck in traumas and in trauma energy, so they weren't integrated or accessible. And I noticed that when I look around, I've looked around my whole life, that people who are operating in trauma mode are often like the same, what I was experiencing, of like not very fun, not very spunky, not very playful, and could go for a long time just like survival, and be like, oh, I don't have any friends. Like, I haven't hung out with a friend for a decade. I haven't danced or been spontaneous for a decade. Haven't been playful in who knows how long, And so I really, like, it all makes a lot of sense. And that, like, if those parts have been locked up in a trauma, that they're not integrated, they're not with you, so you're not experiencing them. But if you heal them, as you heal them and they reintegrate, then you can have all of those attributes back. And I also remember, especially like as a teenager, observing other people who hadn't been through trauma and being like, wow, they seem so like well adapted and can easily, be playful or witty, so easily. It just flows out of them. And I remember as a teenager being like, wow, like It doesn't flow out of me. Or it does like twice a year, and those are very, very special days that I like try to remember. Um, and that, yeah, it just makes so much sense. That is the nature of having parts of your psyche burdened and stuck in trauma energy, and that everybody, no matter what your experiences have been, you can heal those trauma parts and reintegrate them and whatever strengths and attributes and memories and skills they contain, but they're stuck outside of you. As you heal and reintegrate, then they come back and you get to actually access and feel and utilize all of those attributes. Oh, I'm so excited. And it all just makes so much sense. I love IFS. I love fragment and integration work. I think some people call it soul retrieval. I love it so much. It adds so much perspective, so much comprehension and understanding, and also helps you see what the trauma beliefs and why and how they're not true or accurate, and then the truth beliefs that you can add or like arrive at through the process. It's just so amazing. So rock on, all my IFS friends, all my people, all my friends who are healing on their healing journey. It is the most beautiful, wonderful gift you can give to yourself or to the world, because you can only emanate from yourself and offer and do and be an example of and shine a light that you are. And I've seen it. It just makes me so happy especially every time I see a parent, someone who's a parent, do it. It's world changing for everyone around them, especially their children. To be like, whoa, mom's never been spunky before, or very happy, or, or dad has never been in the mood to play with us. And he is now, like, wow. It's like, it's beyond Christmas, so it's going to make me cry. Yeah. It's beyond Christmas. It's beyond anything that you could ever give them or that they could ever experience for parents to go on their healing journey and reintegrate themselves and become more whole. Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. And it's amazing. And this whole journey can just come from a question. If I started noticing, like, wait a minute, I observe that if I ask myself, do I take care of myself the way you would someone that you love? No. Wow. Why not? And so it's just amazing the way, if you ask a question, your system will bring it up. Your subconscious will answer it. It'll be like, oh, here's why. And it will usually be something you didn't expect. But I'm so grateful that I had taken, earlier in my life, I had the parenting approach for that toddler and baby, mostly the toddler, because the toddler was the one who would step forward to be like, I'm going to go find that baby a cookie. I'm going to do whatever it takes to go get a cookie, to give it to that baby. So she was the one I was interacting with the most. And at first I just had rigidity of like, no, nutrition says. But eventually I adopted a lot softer ways of parenting of like, oh, are you sad? Like, here. I'd try all kinds of more gentle approaches, and even some days being like, okay, I'll eat a cookie with you. And we'll sit on the ground together and eat a cookie, because apparently, you really need that. And I'm so grateful that I had adopted softer parenting techniques with that child, because now that I see the whole story, like, it just makes so much sense, and that she was just doing the very, very best she could. And it wasn't just irrational. Okay, all right. I hope you guys have a great day, and cheers to healing.